فتعالى الله الملك الحق ولا تعجل بالقرآن من قبل أن يقضى إليك وحيه وقل رب زدني علما.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين. All thanks and praises be to Allah, Lord of all that exists, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be on His Prophet, Prophet of Mercy Muhammad, peace be upon him. Islam means submission, and in this context means to submit to the will of Allah. Allah is the name of the creator of everything, and it is the original name that He revealed Himself to His creation with, or by using. If you read in the divine books that were revealed before, or even the books that remain with us today, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and especially with the Hebrew language, because that's the original language of the children of Israel, you will find that the name they use for the Creator is Elohim. And as you can hear and recognize, Allah, Elohim are the same word, used in both traditions, the children of Israel and their prophets, and the Islamic tradition. The word God is a new word that was introduced later on, and I can assure you that neither Moses nor Jesus ever used this word to describe the Lord. But because so many millions of people today recognize the Creator by the name God, we use it so that people know whom we're talking about. We're not talking about a different Lord, a different Creator. It is the same Creator. And His name, Allah, is the name we have in our tradition. I should also remind you that both the children of Israel and the Arabs come from the same culture and come from the same man, which is Prophet Abraham, who lived in Iraq in ancient times, which was populated then by Arabs who migrated from Yemen generations ago or before. So he was an Arab who lived among Arabs, and Hebrew means foreigner. When he traveled from his area, Iraq, to the Sham area, which is the greater Syria of today, consisting of Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine, my homeland, he was called a foreigner because it's a figure of speech. For those who are not native, we use this word. Even today, in some Arab cultures, we call Ibri, Hebrew. Ibri means someone who's just passing by, a guest, or somebody who's staying temporarily and he's moving back to his home or moving on. So Abraham is the father of the Arabs and the children of Israel. Israel is a word that was also corrupted like many other words when they are used in other languages. His name is not Israel, his name is Israel. And it means God heard the pleas or the invocation, supplication. Abraham is the father of two mighty prophets, Ishaq, Isaac, and Ishmael. Ismail is the father of the Arabs, and Prophet Muhammad is a direct descendant of Prophet Ismail. And the Arabs in general, you have more than 300 million Arabs today. In general, they are descendants of Prophet Ismail, who married into the Arab tribes who were in Mecca. As we know from history, that Prophet Abraham was sent to different nations, so he moved from Iraq all the way to Egypt, to Arabia, and called many nations in between to monotheism, which is the central and focal point of the Old Testament and the New Testament, that God is only one, and He's the one and only Creator. This is the message that Abraham called to. Through Isaac we have Israel, who was the father of every single prophet who was sent to the children of Israel after him. He was the father of them. They are his descendants, offspring. Prophet Ismail also, he lived in Arabia, in a city called Mecca, where you have the Kaaba, which is that building you see that when Muslims every year make the pilgrimage Hajj, they go to that city, Mecca, and they make the pilgrimage, which includes praying at the vicinity of the sacred mosque or masjid. The better word to use for mosque is masjid. This is the word that we have for our places of worship, and that's the most sacred house of worship that Muslims have. It was established by prophets Ibrahim, and Ishmael. They built it, and they built it on monotheism. And the children of Ismail kept that tradition for generations until somebody brought from Egypt idols to the house of worship that was established on monotheism, and people started worshipping the idols as intermediaries between them and the Creator. Even though they know from the traditions of the prophets, including their own father, Ishmael, that you don't need any intermediary between you and your Lord. You just invoke Him and He will take you back. And if you invoke Him for all kinds of things, He will respond to you. If you invoke Him for forgiveness, having lived a life of defiance and disobedience, He will take you back, as long as you do it in sincerity. Prophet Muhammad was sent into this kind of environment. He lived for 40 years among people who are descendants of Prophet Ismail and Ibrahim. And I'm going to be using these names, so hopefully you know Ismail is Ishmael, it's very close to each other. Ibrahim is Abraham. So I'm going to be using the Islamic names for these prophets. We believe in them, of course, as we believe in Moses and Jesus, Musa and Isa. So he was born into that kind of environment and society, and people had many, many idols in the house of worship that was established for and on monotheism. One of the companions of Prophet Muhammad, his name is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and this narration is found in two of the most important Islamic resources for prophetic statements, hadith. He said, they are called Bukhari and Muslim, he said that during the time when Prophet Muhammad was sent, there were around 360 idols inside and in the vicinity of the sacred house of Al-Kaaba in Mecca. So Prophet Muhammad, at the age of 40, he was sent as the final and last prophet and messenger from Allah, and he was told to bring back the monotheism established by Prophet Ibrahim. And the word that we use, Islam, as I started by explaining it, it means submission to the will of Allah, of God. And it has various meanings. So when I want to ask the question, what is Islam? I can answer it by giving you different types of answers. All of them come together to give you a meaning for the word and for the religion. But I'm going to make it easy. Because anytime somebody wants to ask me about my religion, I can tell them that what my religion is based on, and therefore they can easily memorize or understand or at least remember a part or maybe hopefully all of these aspects of Islam. Because Islam is many, many things, but it is built on 11 major pillars. 6 of them have to do with faith, and it is called Iman, I-M-A-N. And 5 of them are the practical aspects of Islam. They are called the pillars of Islam. So the faith that resides in the heart is called Iman, and how you act upon it is called Islam. As you see, Islam again is used here, and here it means the practical pillars of the religion. What are the pillars of Islam? That if you ask any Muslim, they should give you the answer very easily. You should be able to record it, because this is an easy to understand religion, and easy to practice religion, and it doesn't need much of a, you can understand its foundations in such a short time. And this is why I'm saying it is an easy to understand, easy to practice religion. But there are many issues that come into the religion. After somebody becomes a Muslim or is born into Islam, they need to live life according to the Islamic code. Because Islam is a way of life. It's not only a religion. And this is why in our religion we don't have a separation between life and society, between life and politics, life and business, life and education, life and the government. It's all together in one unit. Because there is no way that anyone can do what people today are saying, that there is a separation between church and the state. It didn't happen. It cannot happen, because there is no way that somebody would say, now I'm going to turn off the man, the president who is the religious person, and turn on the president who's not particularly a religious person. It doesn't happen. And as you have learned in the past 8 years, how easily one religion can creep into politics and be involved in it in such a way that, let me explain it in another way, that I can't find any person in America at least to describe to me how the separation of politics and religion can really work, because it doesn't work, never does. So our religion, Islam, is a complete way of life, and there are many issues that go with that complete way of life. But the foundations of it are 11. 6 that have to do with faith, 5 that have to do with the practical aspects of the religion. What are the 6 pillars of Islam? Of Iman, faith. 6 pillars of faith, 5 pillars of Islam, meaning the practical aspects. The 6 pillars of Iman, faith, are to believe in Allah, to believe in the angels, to believe in the divine books that Allah revealed to the prophets, to believe in the books, to believe in the prophets, to believe in the last day, and to believe in predestination. So 6 pillars, and this is the foundation of Islam. If you want to ask me, explain your religion in a few sentences, I'll tell you these 6 pillars, and then you have it. This is the foundation of my faith, which is called Iman. Believe in Allah, in the angels, in the prophets, the books that were sent to the prophets, in the last day to come, and in predestination. The 5 pillars of Islam are to testify that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, that Muhammad is his messenger, and to establish the prayer. We pray 5 times a day. This is required from every Muslim, man and woman. At the age of 7 they start praying, all the way until everyone dies. They have to keep praying 5 times a day. So it's the prayer number 2. We said first you have to testify to the faith. Secondly, to establish the prayer. Thirdly, to fast during the month of Ramadan, which is one of the 12 lunar months of the year, during the day. Fourth, to give charity, the required part of it from your money, to the poor. And the 5th pillar of Islam is the Hajj pilgrimage, which happens once in a lifetime as a requirement. Somebody can do it every year, they can, but as a requirement, they have to do it at least once in a lifetime if they can afford the journey. If they can't, physically or financially, then it's not required from them until they are able to do it. So here you have it, 6 and 5, 11, and hopefully the Muslims who are here today don't make it complicated for the people who ask them about the religion, because it's so easy that I can finish my class right now and start asking, taking questions from you. But we have to talk a little bit more about each of these pillars. The pillars of Iman, faith, as we said, are 6. Number 1 is to believe in Allah. What is belief in Allah? As I explained, Allah is the creator of everything. And as such, we have 3 aspects to faith in Allah that are inseparable. They have to be together. You have to bring them together to be a full Muslim or believer in Allah. That He alone is the creator and founder and sustainer of everything, who takes care of everything in life. Everything originated from Him. Everything is sustained by Him. He is the one who owns life and death and what's to come and what happened in the past. So He is the Lord, and it's called in Arabic Ar-Rabb, R-A-B-B, Rabb, meaning the Lord in English. So He's the only creator. his description is found in the Quran, which is the holy books of Islam, and by the words of his Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The statement I just said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is something we say when we mention the prophets, including Jesus. We say alayhi salam, Moses alayhi salam, Noah, Nuh alayhi salam, Adam alayhi salam. It means peace be upon him. It's a word of respect that we say. So, as we said now about the first pillar, which is faith in Allah, it has three inseparable parts. That He is the Lord, and the description of the Lord is found vividly in the Quran, the holy book of Islam, and by the words of its Prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we find that the names of Allah are plenty. He revealed only 99 of them to us, but He has many more. He has the most perfect attributes and qualities and the most beautiful names. And His qualities are perfect every way you look at them. And they are tremendous in that they are infinite. We cannot imagine them. We can only imagine the effect of them. Like this creation, all of it, the magnificence of it, how spacious it is, and it's still increasing in size, as the Quran said 15 centuries ago, that we created the heavens with strong hands and we keep expanding it. And today we know that the universe is expanding. It's going away from each other still, until that day when it starts contracting and coming back together. And this is the day of judgment. So we know from the Quran and the Prophet's words about the qualities of Allah, and that they are the most perfect qualities, infinite in their quality, and He has the most beautiful names. Second aspect. Third aspect of faith in Allah is that since He's the only creator and sustainer of everything, who has those infinite qualities and beautiful names, He's the only one who deserves to be worshipped. That's logical, isn't it? Because worshipping a stone is not logical, because it didn't create you. Worshipping a stone that you create with your own hands is even worse. And I'm going to let you know about the status of Arabs when Prophet Muhammad was sent. They used to create idols just like the father of Abraham, as we find in the Old Testament and in the Quran, that his father used to make idols and sells them to the people to worship. Isn't it, this is the most foolish thing to do? You make something with your own hand and then you worship it? Well, the Arabs took that to even lower, understanding of it. They would travel, and because of their parts to that part, believing in Him, the only Lord and Creator, the most perfect names and attributes belong to Him. He is the only one worthy of worship. We believe in the angels, and we mentioned that the angels are holy creation that are dedicated to worship of Allah, created of light, and one of them is chosen to deliver the news about what Allah wants from His creation through the human prophets, which is the third pillar of Islam, to believe in the prophets. In a statement that's said by Prophet Muhammad, we know that Allah sent 124,000 prophets to 124,000 nations. And the Quran actually testifies to that by saying, وَإِن مِّنْ أُمَّةٍ إِلَّا خَلَى فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ. Every nation had a prophet, someone to warn them. And here it says the word Nadir, a warner, because to save yourself from the ill effects of your behavior is more important, or comes before, guiding yourself to the straight path. Both of them are essential. You have to have both. But to save yourself from punishment comes as an added benefit to myself. Because first I would like to save myself from being punished, and then I would like to know how to not be punished. Both of them are essential. You have to bring both. Meaning what? To go on the right path and to save yourself from the punishment of God. So the prophets are number 3, and they receive divine books, revelations, and we don't know the exact number of the revelations that came, meaning the messages that are in the form of a book, We know that Allah sent to prophets different kinds of books. Like for example, Ibrahim received a book called As-Suhuf. As-Suhuf is plural for Sahifa. Sahifa means a paper. Today, the newspapers in the Arab world, for example, are called Sahifa. Okay? So Sahifa means paper with instructions. Prophet Dawood, David, also received a book. It's called Az-Zabur, the Psalms. We believe in that too. And we mentioned the Torah, we also mentioned the Gospel, but we believe in the original books that were sent, and we don't believe that they exist anymore in their original shape. They were changed, corrupted, edited, and today, even the most expert among any of those religions that take the books that are called the Torah and the Gospel today cannot separate what was added from what's original, except if they use the benefit of the Quran to tell them which is which. And for this they need to become Muslim, hopefully. So now we spoke about 4 aspects out of the 6 to faith, to Iman. Believe in Allah, the angels, the prophets, the books. The destination for everyone is clear to everyone by now, that everybody dies, right? So everybody will have an end to their life. This is one of the facts that we don't need the previous generation to tell us about, because when they're not here anymore, we know they're not here anymore. They're dead. So everyone dies, and this is a fact of life that we cannot escape from. But according to many people, there is nothing after death. And therefore, the victims of Hitler end up nothing, no compensation for their loss. And Hitler lived as Pharaoh dreamed of living, and there is no punishment except that he killed himself. According to these people, there is nothing after life, after death. So if there is nothing after death, what's the incentive for people not to commit crimes? They can commit crimes as much as they like, cause the death of 100 million people, and then die. Take their own life, and there is nothing, there is no punishment. In fact, that man who died, Hitler, he had a faith, he had a religion to follow, he professed it, and he said it many, many times. I was always a follower of this religion, I'll always be a follower of that religion. But anyway, that's not the point here today. So there is a day to come after death, for which you have to account for your behavior, and myself and everybody for their behavior in this life. Because there has to be a day to compensate the victim, and a day where the criminal will receive the just punishment. And the criminal here is not only someone who commits crimes against other human beings, but commits crimes also against God, against Allah. Because they live in His kingdom, eat the water that He created for them, drink the water that He created for them, eat the food He created for them, and thank somebody else or don't thank Him at all. See? And this is a crime, far more than the crime anyone can do to another human being. That day to come is called Al-Yawmul Akhir, the last day. Yawm means day, Akhir, A-K-H-I-R, means last, the final day. And as you can go through your memory, and you know from the tradition and culture you lived in, almost every religion has this concept of a final day, a day of judgment, a day where everybody will come back to life. And the details vary from one religion to another, but the basic understanding that many religions have, and most people still have, is that there is a day to come for which I'll be resurrected to life again, and I have to meet what I did in this life, or whatever it is that they have in their religion. Some religions say that you'll be incarnated into another, kind of being for eternity. So if you were good in this life, you maybe become another man or woman in the other life. If you were bad, you become a lizard or something, or become a frog, or somebody would eat, especially in a French restaurant. But this is not what we believe. We believe that you have only one chance to life, and this is it. And it's not going to end for eternity that there is nothing after it. There is a second day that will never finish or end for eternity. So when I look at my short life and deduct from it the time I was a child, and a third of my life I spent sleeping, then what's left of me is that what I have to answer for on the day I wake up in the other life to be resurrected, so I can, answer for the crimes I committed or the sins, or get the benefit of my righteousness. That day will have a start, will not have an end. So compared to my short life, I can't even imagine how long that day will be, because it's not 1,000 years, it's not 100,000, it's not 1,000,000, it's not 1,000,000,000, it's forever. Therefore, it's very serious for me today to understand why I was created and where I'm going. I have to think about these issues. I can't be run by my life and material need to fulfill my material needs, the urge to fulfill my material needs in this life, and forget about my destination. Knowing that tens of millions of people, yesterday I said hundreds of millions, no, tens of millions of people die every year. Tens of millions. It's not like 3,000 people die and they're mostly in China. No, everybody dies everywhere. And you have to understand that people of all ages die. The young, the ones who are in their full strength, the old, they all die. When they hit that wall, they hit the wall. Their day of judgment starts then. Starts in the grave and after that. And in Islam, this pillar, which is the fifth pillar of Iman, it is described in full detail in the Quran and by the words of our Prophet. It's called Hadith. Statements of the Prophet is called Hadith. H-A-D-E-E-T-H. We say H for Ha, but you don't have Ha in your language. Ha is the closest thing to it. Hadith, Hadith. So we have full description about that day, what's going to happen for people at the time of their death, before they leave this earth completely, in the grave, on the day when everybody will be gathered again, and then after that, when people will be separated into two groups. One of them is destined to hellfire and one destined to paradise. And Islam doesn't have a vague statement about it. If you look in the New Testament, for example, you will find that there is a statement that says that on the day of judgment, or on that day, people will live like angels. But that's about it. You don't have much detail about it. In the Quran and Sunnah, we have great detail about it. About what's going to happen with regards to those who sinned in this life and committed crimes against Allah and against other humans. Those who didn't live, but for them they have to answer for their crimes, they're going to see it. And it's described in full detail. Also, the joy of people who will enter paradise and what they will enjoy in it is described in our book vividly. And we read our Quran every day. In fact, in 15 minutes I'm going to stop so we can make that prayer, which is the fourth prayer of today. We pray 5 times a day. This is the fourth prayer. And we recite the Quran, and in many parts of the Quran there is description about hellfire and paradise. This is the fifth pillar, about the day of judgment. Everyone will come back to life to answer for what they did in this life. If it is good, mainly, then the destination is good. Paradise and the pleasure of Allah. If it is not, then they have to answer for the deficiency in their record. If they didn't believe in Allah, no good deed they did in this life will benefit them. They will lose it all. And therefore, it is very serious, a very serious matter. Everybody should think about the destination and not think that is going to hit somebody else. Because the biggest surprise of my life and yours will be when I die. And then what people used to say, mostly, I'll find it that it's not true. And I have to suffer severe consequences that will never end with my Creator, because He wants me to live in this life in submission to Him, and to live the way He wants me to live. He gave me so much freedom to live it in a good way, and so many bounties from Him to enjoy life in a good way, a reasonable way. But so many of us insist on transgression and committing aggression against their own self and against other people. So the day of judgment is the day, as it says, a day of judgment. We have to answer for our crimes, or we have to be compensated for the good deeds we did in this life. And there is no comparison, because when you enter paradise, and then there is no way you're going to leave it. So you did a little bit of charity in this life, you receive full payment for eternity for it. So the comparison is huge. You can't even imagine it. What's the sixth pillar of Iman, faith? That Allah, before He created us, He knew what our choices will be. He did not force any of us to choose any path. He gave us the power of choice, and we choose either to do good or evil. And it is called in Arabic, in the Arabic language, it's called qadar. Q-A-D-A-R. Predestination. Those who follow the Christian or Jewish tradition who are here today, I think they understand what I'm talking about. Predestination, meaning what? Before I was created, before the heavens and earth were created, Allah already knew about my decisions. And He facilitates it for me. He gives it to me the easy way to do what I choose to do. It's my choice. I don't know where I'm going to end. The one who's speaking to you today. I don't know where my destination will be. I have no idea. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is what I should be thinking about, because God knows, Allah knows where I'm going to end up in the hereafter. But I don't know. And I can't base any decision based on what I don't know. I have to do what I know. I have to be a righteous person, fulfilling the commandments of God, being a Muslim, someone who's in submission to Allah. And therefore, predestination has to do with knowledge. We are not forced to do what we're doing. It's our choices. You can't go back to Allah and say, well, you chose me to be among the people of hellfire, because it's going to be based on someone's decision that they end up in hellfire. Not because Allah forced them to do that. Also, why Allah let us live this life if He knew our decisions? Because had He created us and put part of us in paradise and part in hellfire, those who go to paradise, I'm sure they're not going to complain. But the ones who go to hellfire will say, I didn't do anything. So we get our chance, and this is it. It's not going to be, 2 chances, not 3 chances. No one leaves this life and comes back to it. As some people say, well, I had a near-death experience, or a death experience and I came back to life. No, it didn't happen, I'm sorry. Once the soul leaves your body, for the final destination is not coming back. So, the qadar here, the predestination, is about knowledge of what we're going to do, but it's our choice. And this is why Allah gives us complete access to information, what He wants us to do, so that we know what we want, what we have to do. We can't complain about our choices on the Day of Judgment, because they're ours. And we can't say to Allah, You didn't give us information, because He sent 124,000 prophets and revealed many, many books to them, and information on what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't say, I had no information, I had no clue. Did you hear the word Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad? Well, then answer for it. You see, because Allah gave us full access to the information. Let's suppose somebody lives his entire life and has no access to any message of any prophet. They will be dealt with on the Day of Judgment. They will be tested then, so that they receive the information. So no one will go to hellfire except by their full choice, knowing what they're supposed to be avoiding, meaning they knew the ways that lead to hellfire, they still chose them, either in this life or the hereafter. Meaning those group of people who are called, they are delayed until the Day of Judgment. For what reason? They didn't have any information at all. They lived by themselves their whole life. Didn't hear about Prophet Abraham, or about Noah, or about Muhammad, or about Jesus, or Moses. So they have no access to the information. Then Allah will test them on the Day of Judgment. If they submit to His will, then they go to paradise. They don't, they go to hellfire. So everybody will get his test. Now, when somebody wants to become a Muslim, it's the easiest thing to do. And this is the first of the 5 pillars of Islam. Now we finished the 6 pillars of Iman, faith. Believe in Allah, the angels, the prophets, the books, the last day, and predestination. This is what resides in the heart, what you should have in your heart to become a faithful person. you have to submit to it, to attest to it by the words. And this is when someone becomes a Muslim. Therefore, if somebody understands what we just said, and I can explain it in only 5 minutes, I don't have to give a whole lecture about it, I'm just giving you more detail. Do you believe in these 6 pillars? Yeah, I believe. Then say, La ilaha illallah. There is no God or ilah or deity worthy of worship except Allah. And Muhammad is his messenger. This is the statement of everyone who comes after the time of Muhammad. During the time of Jesus, Isa, everyone had to believe in the 6 pillars of faith and to attest to Jesus being a prophet from Allah. You see? So in their time, their prophet was Jesus. They had to say, La ilaha illallah, Isa Rasulullah, Musa Rasulullah, Nuh Rasulullah. You see what I'm saying here? So the nation that receives a prophet has to attest to the 6 pillars of faith, and they have to proclaim the faith by saying, I believe in my prophet. After Muhammad, there is no prophet according to our tradition, the Islamic tradition. He is the final and last prophet and messenger. Therefore, everybody who came after him has to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Believing in Muhammad means believing in Adam, Noah, Moses, Jesus, and every other prophet. Because if somebody says that he believes in 124,000 prophets except one, then he doesn't believe in any of these 124,000. You either accept all of them or you reject all of them. You can't believe in one and say, I'm excluding this one, but I'm believing in everybody else, then he's not a believer anymore. Or he cannot become a believer, or he is not a believer considered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a believer. Subhanahu wa ta'ala means the exalted. So when someone believes in the 6 pillars of Iman, they have to attest to the faith, saying, I believe in Allah as is explained to me, and I believe in Muhammad as his messenger. If someone says, I believe it in my heart, but I'm not going to attest to it, then he hasn't submitted. Now let's go back to the meaning of Islam. What does it mean? Submission. So you believe, submit. The first aspect of submission is to say, I believe. La ilaha illallah. There is no ilah, there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. Muhammad is the messenger who was sent to me. I believe in him. From there, so if someone wants to come to my masjid, which is the proper word, not mosque, in Connecticut, for example. I drove here to here from Connecticut, 1,100 miles, plus 200 for a detour, so that's a total of 1,300 miles. I came here so I can give you a lecture about Islam gladly, and hopefully you will benefit from what I said today here, and remember it for some time to come, because these are really easy pillars to remember. So I came here to talk about the religion, which is what? To say, La ilaha illallah. Say, I want to become a Muslim. I'll explain to him the pillars. And then when he says, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, the statement I just explained, they become full Muslims like me, with full rights and full responsibilities, regardless of their race, age, culture, tradition. It doesn't matter, because we are all the children of Adam, and we see the magnificence of Allah in the way we are different from each other, yet we are one and the same. We came from one man and one woman. Therefore, I can't say I'm better than you in the blood, because the blood that runs in my veins is the same one that runs in yours. And we all came from the same origin. So when somebody comes to my center and wants to become a Muslim, this is all that they have to do. Understand the pillars, say the statement, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, then we call him a Muslim, or her. Then they have to do the other 4 pillars, practical pillars of the religion. Practicing the prayer, it's easy to remember, easy to learn, and I have brothers here today and sisters who were not Muslims before, they became Muslim, and they learned like I do, or I did when I was young from my family, how to make the prayer. They pray, and it's easy to do 5 times a day. The longest prayer doesn't take more than a few minutes, so if you add them all together, they won't take more than a half an hour of your day. Hopefully they would take, because God gave you 24 hours a day. I think it's not too much to give a half an hour of a whole day for Him. But it's not only to pray to give appreciation to your Lord that we gain from the prayer. We pray 5 times a day, every day, throughout our life. If I'm sick, if I'm tired, if I have to pray the 5 times. It has to be done by every man and woman who's a Muslim. Now, the prayer gives me the chance to appreciate my Lord for what He gave me. Also, I gain peace. Especially these days, with so many troubling things that you hear outside of the place of worship or the time of prayer. You need that few minutes of peace. It's not meditation. It's thanking your Lord for what He gave you. And I'm going to use something of what He gave me right now. You appreciate your Lord Allah for what He gave you, the bounties, for creating you, sustaining you, and you do it in a magnificent way. You pray to Him, benefiting yourself. Because I get the benefit, He becomes pleased with me. Also, I enter into a type of peace that only those who have done it before can really understand the full meaning of it. The joy of prostrating to your Lord as Jesus used to do. You remember those last moments that the Old New Testament says Jesus spent before He was, according to them, crucified. According to us, He wasn't. The Quran says He wasn't crucified. He was removed from this life alive, and He will come back to fulfill His life, the remainder of it. So according to the New Testament, He felt depressed, and He said to His companions, stay here. And He went a little bit far from them and fell to the ground in prostration. This is what we do in our prayer. We fell to the ground for our Lord and humiliate ourselves only for Him. Not for money, not for worldly possessions, not for anything, just for Him alone. For everybody else we are equal. I would never lower my head to any human. My kids, they go learn martial arts. I look for about 30 schools to find a school number 31 who would say, we're not going to require them to bow. Because I would tell him, who do you think you are? I'm not going to bow to you. Who do you think you are? You didn't sustain me, you didn't create me. I'm not going to bow to you. Just because you bring a tradition from a culture you don't believe in, you're even a Christian, you're not even Buddhist. And you do this bowing, I'm not going to bow. But we do it in our prayer because we are only doing it to Allah, the Creator alone, and only Him. We don't lower our heads except for Him alone. This is something else we gain from the prayer. We spoke about 2 out of the 5 pillars of Islam now. 6 pillars of faith, Iman, we described. The 5 pillars of Islam, they start with the testimony that there is no God worth worship except Allah. Muhammad is His messenger. We pray 5 times a day. We fast throughout the day or on the days of the lunar month of Ramadan, which is either 29 days or 30 days. It's the lunar month, and it comes like, once every year, and we fast from dawn to sunset. We don't eat or drink during this time, and we try our best to be even more righteous than we are supposed to be in other days. We read the Quran frequently. We're supposed to be kind, and we don't eat or drink or engage in any sexual behavior with the wife, of course, during the day. During the night, we can eat and drink and do normal things of life. But during the day, we can't. This is the 3rd pillar of Islam. The 4th pillar of Islam is called Zakah. The 3rd pillar is called Siyam. S-I-Y-A-M, fasting. 4th pillar is called Zakah. Z-A-K-A-H. And it's charity. We have to pay a determined portion of our wealth for the poor, to help the poor. And it's not an option, we have to pay it. So it is incorporated into our religion, which we learn when we're young, and those who become Muslim, they learn it, that a pillar of my faith is to be kind to the poor. Because what I own it only temporarily. It came from Allah, and He can take it back from me. If I have billions, and I'm sure people who live with us in this generation understand how can a billion or 50 billion become to nothing. $50 billion. How can somebody take $50 billion from people for years, and they don't have the brain to keep checking on their money? What happened to it? So started with 50 billion, ended up with nothing. Period. Zero. But he still had hundreds of millions, of course. Him and his wife. So Allah can take it from you. And to protect your money, which you don't own, be kind. But it's not only this. These are human beings. They need my kindness. I can't be hard-hearted. I have to share what I have with them to be kind to them. So that if I am enjoying this clean cup of water, I would like people in Africa to have the same too. This is why we have in our religion charity incorporated into our faith. We love it. We do it. And we are the most hospitable people, or among the most hospitable people on the face of the earth. We're kind. We'd like to help everyone. Sadly, these days, Muslims, especially in this country, in the West, they are afraid to give charity as they used to, because people from the government agencies can trace who paid what to whom, and then you pay to a charity, they give it to somebody else who did something wrong, they come after you. So many Muslims today are afraid to give this much, or at least a check, so that nobody can trace the name back, but they still give cash. And I can assure the government agencies here, we will never stop giving charity, because that's a part of what we are. But we try our best to give it to good causes, but I don't know what people will do with the money when they take it from me. And just as I'm not going to go after the British banks and call them terrorists because they held hundreds of millions of dollars of bin Laden's money for years. About 30 million, I think, to 100 million of his money. Nobody called those banks terrorist banks. But they go after a Somali person who sends money to his family in Somalia. They have nothing to do with all this violence. Through an organization that gives the money to the people, also to other people who are committing violence, they go after that poor person. Why you give it to terrorists? No, I didn't give it. I give it to my father. He's not a terrorist, I can assure you. So number 4 here is a part of our religion, zakah, charity. Number 5 is to go once in a lifetime to Mecca for the purpose of performing Hajj, H-A-J-J. It's the pilgrimage. It's required once in a lifetime from every Muslim if they can afford the journey. They don't have the money, they can't afford it, then they're not required to do it until they have the means to do that. And it's only once in a lifetime. And when they do it, they also, if they do it sincerely and in the proper way, they can go back home sinless. They lose all their sins. And this completes the 5th pillar of Islam. And Hajj, what happened a few months ago, hopefully next time you see Hajj, they have programs nowadays like on CNN for a couple of hours, and they show the people what they're doing, the rituals of Hajj. By the way, Hajj, the pilgrimage, the rituals of it, we are emulating what Prophet Abraham, our own father, told his son Ismail, who told the Arabs how to do the Hajj. So we're doing the same rituals of pilgrimage as taught by the prophets. Ibrahim, who believe in all the prophets, and we always say that may Allah's peace and blessing be on them. So let me just remind you of the 11 pillars. Inshallah, we'll finish. Inshallah means God willing, Allah willing. So we want to stop for the prayer. Please stay here. Watch us how we make the prayer. It's going to take us a few minutes to finish. Then there's a question and answer session. I'll be glad to take your questions, no matter how what they are. If you think they're even some kind of hostile, that's fine. Just let me know what you have on your mind. I'm here to answer those questions. What I was going to say, that we're going to start for the prayer, and you know, hopefully you'll stay here. The pillars of Iman and Islam are 11, easy to remember. Believe in Allah, the angels, the prophets, the books, the last day, predestination. I have to act upon these 6 pillars by testifying that God is the only deity worthy of worship. Muhammad is the messenger who was sent to me and to everyone from his time until the day of judgment. I have to pray 5 times a day, so I do that. I fast during the lunar month of Ramadan during the day. I give a part of my wealth to charity called zakah. And if I had the means, I'm required once in a lifetime to do the Hajj. I did that, but my family didn't do that. So every Muslim in this life has the dream of one day taking their family and going doing Hajj. Hopefully, I explained it in an efficient way. I asked you to stay here because we're gonna announce the call to the prayer. It's called the Adhan, A-D-H-A-N, Adhan. This is the call to the prayer that we pronounce every time before the Salah. Salah is the prayer in Arabic, S-A-L-A-H. And in the back here you have one of my books, The money goes to charity. By the way, if you want to purchase the book, it's in the back. It explains these 11 pillars with the quotations from the Quran and prophetic statements. So what I said today here, the proof to it from our books is found here. This book in 100 pages explains the 11 pillars of our religion, submission to Allah. Purchase it. If you can't, you don't have the money, please talk to me. I'll give you a gift from those books. But they're going to charity and we will be helping the Islamic Center here. Thank you very much for being patient, and please don't clap your hand, because in our religion we don't like clapping, but the best thing you can do to appreciate what I just said is just think about it, and please ask Muslims about their religion, don't ask someone who doesn't know about it. All thanks and praises be to Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be in all of the prophets. Portion that from any part of the Quran you want to read. The Quran is a vast book of over 6,000 verses called ayat, plural for ayah, A-Y-A-H, equivalent to verse in the traditions that you're familiar with. So I encourage you to ask any questions that you may think you need answer for, regardless of, just give me the question. If you would like to say it in public, write it and we'll answer it. Any questions? Yes.
Is there a requirement in Islam to Is there a requirement in the Islam religion to share your faith? Like, I don't know, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, share your faith as in like witnessing to other people, you know, encouraging people to join.
Yes, to preach it, you mean?
Yeah.
Propagate it?
Sure.
Yeah, they have a unique term for it. It's called dawah, D-A-W-A-H, and it is literally translated into call. So we are required to share the faith that we have learned with all human beings. In fact, one of the best good deeds you can ever do after becoming a faithful believer is to call people to Islam. This is why we are in competition, especially with Christianity, throughout the world, from the beginning, from the onset. As you know, Judaism as it is today, they don't like new customers. They don't like to invite people to it. They don't call people to it because they think somehow the salvation is tied to you being from that offspring. But in our tradition, that Allah criticizes the Jews because He says that you're just a part of my creation. You're not different from anybody else. Nobody is, by him claiming it, becomes the chosen person or people of God. The only ones who can claim that are those who receive information from God that you are chosen, and He didn't give anybody that except those who believe. So definitely those who believe are more entitled to be the children of God, which it's just a figure of speech. It doesn't mean we're dependent on Him. We are relying totally on Him. We can't exist without Him. So we do preach our religion, and the competition has been going on since the beginning of Islam with Christianity. And today there are more Muslims than there are Catholics in the world. So we are number 2 religion after all the Christian religions put together. We are number 2, and increasing in number in various ways. Not only by way of having more children than others, we do have more children than others, but so many people become Muslim. In the West, millions of people chose to become Muslim, including my wife, before I met her, and many others. They become Muslim on their own. They used to be Christian, Jewish, whatever religion, and they read about the religion, they accept it. So in the West, people are not increasing, the Muslims are not increasing in number just because they have more children. It's because many people who become Muslim, millions of them actually in America became Muslim. About half of the Muslim population in America is from native people who became Muslim here. And now we're witnessing second and third generation natives who became Muslim. So the religion is expanding. We are supposed to call people to our religion for various reasons. And this is something that people have to understand, because when you hear what people are saying about Islam, you'll be thinking that we would like no one to become Muslim, we would like to kill everybody who's not a Muslim, which is not true. Because Prophet Muhammad has said to his cousin, when there was a war between him and some people, and they're in the battlefield, they're just about to meet the enemy in war, And he gave his cousin the flag to the army, the command of the army. He said, go forward, don't look back. For being obedient, he remembered to ask to go forward to do what? It's to fight. What should I do? So he didn't look back. He said, what should I do? He said, first call them to Islam. In the battlefield, first call them to Islam, because if Allah guides even one person by your hand to Islam, it's better for you than owning red camels. Of course, Prophet Muhammad didn't say Mercedes because they didn't have a Mercedes then. What was their Mercedes then? Red camels. I remember a few years ago in Oman, the country of Oman, they sold one of those red camels for $980,000. Even today it's a really, really rare animal and very precious. So then it was even more precious. So he said to him, this is even better for you than owning red camels to call people to the religion. A part of our faith is to do that. First of all, because we are all children of Adam and his wife Hawa, H-A-W-W-A, Eve. And therefore, we are interested in the salvation of everyone who lives with us. It's not a joke, it's sincere. So we'd like you to learn about what we believe totally is the only way to reach the pleasure of God. So we'd like to share it with you definitely. Also, we'd like to share it because it's a job, it's a requirement. This is why Allah sent prophets. And when He sent Muhammad, He put in motion the ways and means to protect the revelation from corruption. So the Quran we recited today is the same one that Prophet Muhammad gave to his, or recited to his people. The same thing. Same way of recitation, same words. So it is the original book. It's not a translation of it. I can understand much of it. My children can understand much of it. Also, we learn to memorize good parts of the Quran as an honorable thing to do. And therefore, if you collect all the copies of the Quran in the world and burn them, you're not going to go anywhere with that, because we have millions of people who memorize the Quran from beginning to end by heart. Between me and my children in my house, we memorize most of the Quran. And therefore, we recite it every day, we live with it every day, we read it every day. We kept it without corruption by the help and power of Allah alone, because He didn't trust us with it. He trusted Himself with it. He trusted the people before us to keep the books from corruption, and they didn't do a good job. This is why He said in this book, I'm not keeping it to you, I'm going to keep it safe from corruption. So we have the book that tells us about what we need to do, and therefore we need to share this too. You know, I can understand the Arabic language, and I prefer to say Arabic language, not the Arabic language, because the C at the end here makes it look like it's something else, but it's Arabic language. I would like to share it with you. I would love for the majority of Muslims today who don't speak Arabic to understand from the Quran what I understand. And so I would like to share it not only with non-Muslims, but also with Muslims. So, in answer, yes, it's a part of our mission to convey the gift that came to us from God, from the Creator, with everyone, to share it with everyone, because we love what's good for you. We don't want to see anyone who lives in our generation being punished by God in any way or form. And if people live by the code of Islam, it would be the other meaning of Islam, which is peace. Because this is another meaning for the word Islam, peace. Salam means peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, that which in Hebrew says shalom, shalom, it's the same word, peace. So this is the core of our religion, regardless of what Wolf Blitzer would like you to believe. So this is the answer. Any questions? Yes. Yes.
Hi. Thanks. Yeah, you spoke of resurrection after the last day, and I was wondering if it's a central tenet of Islam that the resurrection is bodily, the bodily resurrection, and also what is the nature of the person or the state of the person between their personal, individual death and the last day?
Okay, that's a very good question. First of all, we believe that the resurrection would be, as I am today, I'll be on the day of judgment, body and soul. And the soul is called the spirit. It's separated from my body at the time of death. So the body is, laid in the ground, rots, becomes whatever it is. On the Day of Judgment, Allah will bring back the life to the body, and it becomes flesh again like we are today, and joins it with its soul again. So everybody will receive back his soul. Now the soul is the core of my existence. This is, and I don't understand it, no one can understand it. So between the time I die, or everybody dies, until the time they're resurrected, there is a kind of life that resembles what's going to happen afterwards. Meaning, those who die as sinners and disbelievers will be punished in the grave too. But the type of punishment is something we can't comprehend, because the body is punishment in some kind of form that we can't understand. But they will come back and be joined with their body, so therefore the punishment will continue on the Day of Judgment for those who receive the punishment. It will be pain as we feel it today, and even worse. Like the joys we feel after, for example, eating and resting and enjoying life, same thing for what happens in the grave and after the Day of Resurrection. During that time, again, my life will be a spiritual form. The spirit will be existing, receiving pain and joy just like I receive it, but without the body to join with it. So, but on the Day of Judgment, when everybody dies, everybody will be brought back to life the way they were in this life. Exactly how you look and your name. Everybody will be called by his name, his father's name, his people's name, and everybody will be joined with his body, not somebody else's body. So this is one part of your question. It is essential, yes, it is essential that we believe on the Day of Resurrection. It is a complete resurrection. Allah will bring us back the second life to last as He brought it into this first life, exactly as we are today. And it's easier, because some people in the time Prophet Muhammad were asking, how can we become alive after we rot in the grave? We become bones that become like dust. And Allah responded, the one who created you to begin with can bring you back. In fact, in another part of the Quran, He said it's easier for Him to bring you back than to create you from nothing. So the one who created us from nothing can definitely bring us back as we are today. And therefore, the notion that this is the only life I'm living, this is the only body I'm going to have, in our tradition is not acceptable. Because you're stuck with this body for eternity. And what you do with it, what will happen to it after death, is what you choose to do in this life. So it's punishment or reward according to what the choices we make in this life. The life in the grave, we have information in the Quran, prophetic tradition about what it is. The life in the grave is a spiritual form with pain and joy, as I said, but people will be living in that life in between until the Day of Resurrection. Then the soul will die too. Let me explain. The Day of Resurrection has a beginning, which is the end of every life, body and soul. So everybody will vanish, only Allah alone will remain the only one alive. Everyone will die. Then everybody will be brought back to life. Not only us, the angels and everybody else. So all the creations. So all the universe we see will vanish, will be destroyed. Another universe will be created. And when you look at the universe with the instruments that Allah gave us, with the bounties, you can see now far away galaxies. Hopefully we can understand the magnificence of Allah, and that we understand that we can't mess with Him. You can mess with Texas, but you can't mess with Allah. I tell you, I've seen many people mess with Texas. I lived in Texas for a few years, but you can't mess with Allah, because all this is just some of His creation. And for some, for the greatest existence there is, which is Allah, you can't play games with Him. And we can't fool ourselves by what people think, that there is no life after death. Because to them I'm going to ask, so Hitler and his victims are the same? Pharaoh and his victims are the same? So they lived this life in such luxury, and they don't have to answer for their crimes? No. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. What was the second part of the question? Did I answer?
You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes?
Do you believe in redemption as far as... Do you believe in redemption as far as someone who has committed horrible crimes?
Yes.
to repent and then be accepted into heaven despite what he had done?
Yes, we do believe in redemption, but you have to understand that all redemption has to come through the faith as we explained. You have to believe in Allah in the way that He should be believed in, that He's the only Lord, the Creator, the only one to be worshipped. So redemption has two steps. You have to go back to the faith as Allah wants you to do, and to sincerely repent from the mistakes you committed. For example, if it is a Muslim who pronounces the faith and commits a crime, we have different types of redemption. If it is money stolen, the money has to be given back to those who lost the money, and the one who stole will lose the hand. If somebody lied or slandered somebody, they have to apologize to the people. So it depends on the kind of crime that somebody committed, and redemption can be received through that by renewing your faith in Allah, by feeling sorry for the mistake, promising not to do it again, and if it is something that you took from people, you give it back to them. You see? So you don't keep it to yourself. If it is a slander that may make it worse, if you tell people I slandered you and it will be worse, then you can cover it and seek forgiveness from Allah. But yes, for a Muslim, if he commits a mistake, they have to seek forgiveness from Allah by doing something. The words are a part of it. Feeling sorry are a part of it. Asking Allah to forgive you are the words. Feeling sorry, it has to do with sincerity. Giving back the right to those you took the right from is another part. But those who are not Muslim, what they're supposed to be doing for what they've done before is that they become Muslim. By testifying that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah and Muhammad is His messenger, truly from the heart, then they become sinless on that point. This is why we, the Muslims who were born Muslims, we don't have the opportunity of those who were not Muslims who become Muslims, who choose to become Muslim. Because by proclaiming the faith, Allah will forgive them all the sins they committed before, providing they do good in their Islam. Because Prophet Muhammad said that if somebody becomes a Muslim and he does good in his religion, Allah will reward you for the good deeds, reward him or her for the good deeds they did before Islam and after Islam. So if they did charity before, they became good Muslims. They did charity after, this all collected. But if somebody become a Muslim and he did badly in his Islam, Allah will ask him about the crimes he committed before and after. So redemption in our concept is two types. The Muslims have to sincerely seek forgiveness from Allah and do it sincerely by it's coming from the heart, feeling remorse, sorry, I'm not going to do it again, and give back the right to those you took the rights from if it's possible. Those who are not Muslim, to erase all their mistakes, they have to sincerely believe in Allah. And I can't say Allah has forgiven you because I don't have access to that. So I can't be like some of the religions where you go to a priest and tell him, I've sinned, forgive me. No one can give you forgiveness except Allah. In fact, by doing that in our religion, you are just making it far worse to yourself, because you're asking somebody who's as sinful as you are, less, same, or even more, to forgive you what he doesn't own. Who owns all the forgiveness? Allah. So redemption in our religion has to only deal with Allah. Your connection is with Him. You don't need me. You need to come to my center and say, I've sinned. I'll tell him, me too. I made mistakes too. You're not the only one. What's the way to do it? If somebody lives for 70 years as somebody who worshipped idols or nothing, and then he says, just before he dies, and knowing he's going to die, oh God, forgive me. I made a sin. I made a mistake. Take me back. He will take him back. So how easy it is. But it has to be sincere. So redemption in our religion, it's only a connection you have with Allah. It has to originate from the heart. It has to take the right form and shape for it to be accepted. Yes, sir.
Good evening again.
No problem.
Thank
See you too.
you. My question has to do with, if you believe that everybody believes in a higher power, then why isn't our world better? And why isn't our culture better as humans?
That's maybe a whole culture, a whole class, a whole lecture about it, because I can't tell you, because you see, before we were created, and you might say I wasn't there, but I can assure you, according to what I totally believe in, that you were there, I was there. Allah gave the choice to the creations to become the ones who have options. You know? For example, do you want the power to choose? And according to the Quran, said that everybody refused it, including the heavens. And of course the angels, they don't have no. But we said, yes, we'll take it. So it's our choice that we do horribly in this life. Because it's not like we don't know that theft is not good. We do know that. Regardless of the culture, is there any religion that says theft is good? Theft is good? There isn't any. I can't think of any religion, including even atheism. People who don't believe in anything, they still have laws to put somebody in jail if they steal. So why would people steal knowing that it's not right, and they can go to jail for it, or lose the hand, not the nose, like we explained yesterday, lose the hand for theft. So why do people commit those crimes? Because we have the power to choose, and Allah put us on this earth to testify to our faith or lack of it. And believe me if I say, the victims will be compensated far better than what they lost in this life. But what we do horribly in this life, while we don't become better, I'm not going to cheat you, because we're not good Muslims. Everybody. If everybody is a good Muslim, including the Muslims, we will be doing this. Let me remind you, we live in a generation where some Muslims commit horrible crimes in the name of the religion, Islam. Maybe this is one of the questions that you would like to ask about the word jihad. Did you hear the word jihad since I started today? No, it's not among the pillars of Islam. It's not among the pillars of Iman. It's a part of our religion, yes, but it's not the pillars, as some people would like you to understand, because jihad in our culture means a lot more than holy war, and it doesn't mean holy war. You see, you have a book in the back there, Holy Wars, Crusades, Jihad. It's my book. On the back you find that holy war is not an Islamic concept. We don't have it. It's actually a Jewish concept, and some Muslims are using it for some reason. I don't know, but we don't have this concept. Jihad has 13 different types. One of them is fighting in the battlefield. Just one out of 13. For me to drive from Connecticut all the way here, just to give a class at this university in a city I've never seen before in my life, this is also jihad, you know that? I didn't come here to kill any of you or explode anything. So, but this is jihad. So when somebody comes on the media and says jihad means holy war, I would like to do holy war against him, but the type of it is just to talk. Because also speaking is a type of jihad. Making the prayer as we did is a type of jihad. So jihad, what does it mean? It's coming from the root word of juhd, J-U-H-D, and it means to pay the effort. Now if it is in the battlefield, it's fighting. If it is me responding, I'm responding. If it's me doing something righteous, it's also jihad. So even for you who came here literally, what you did to come here today to listen to the class is also called jihad. So when you leave here, don't allow anybody to call you a terrorist, because it has nothing to do with it. Now, some Muslims come to this concept of jihad and corrupt it. Why they do it? I don't know what's in their heart, but I can tell you that I don't agree with what they're saying or doing. Specifically these things. If Prophet Muhammad says, do not kill women and children, and a Muslim man looking like me, with a beard and this type of, we call it thawb. This is called thawb, which literally means a dress that men wear, does that and kills women and children. And then you have, they stick it to Islam and to jihad that it means indiscriminate violence. Is that true? If Prophet Muhammad said, do not, N-O-T, yesterday I said NTT, I meant TNT. It's not TNT, it's N-O-T, do not kill women and children. and a Muslim does it today, who should you stick this crime to? Prophet Muhammad or the man who did it? Of course, the person who did it. It has nothing to do with my religion. So if this person was a good Muslim, he wouldn't do that. Just as our Prophet said, don't kill priests, don't attack places of worship, don't steal, don't. But some Muslims are doing it. So why are doing these horrible crimes? They know they're supposed not to do it. And in our culture, the punishment is severe. For theft, it's losing the hand. For mischief, you lose your life. So you're a pirate, you come attack ships that have been allowed by the Muslim government, for example, to pass through your area. You attack them, this is called mischief. Fasad fil ard, mischief in the earth, and the punishment of it is death. Okay? So don't tie what the Somalians or the pirates in Somalia are doing to my religion, because it has nothing to do with it. I never stole anything in my life. Because my religion tells me not to, because I'm afraid from my Lord, because it's not good. You see? So why are people committing these horrible crimes? Because their choice. And this is why we need a day of judgment. Because we need to take those criminals who commit the crimes to a higher court. Not mine, not yours. Not your country, not mine. Not your nation, not mine. A higher court that knows completely what we are about, inside and out. So I might say, I did it because I was under the influence of something. But God knows if I was or wasn't. And if I was under the influence of something, I'll be punished twice. For being under the influence of something, and for committing the crime. Because in my religion, you can't use drugs, and you can't use alcohol. So you can't blame it on alcohol or drugs that I was, stoned or something, because you would be stoned really, literally, for doing that. So the answer, it's because of our choice. And before I was in this life, before you were in this life, people were committing these crimes. How you can make it better? I totally believe if they become good Muslims, if they follow the traditions of the prophets that tell them exactly how to be human beings, good human beings, they won't do that. So, that's just about the answer I can give.
Can I follow up with just one little thing?
Yes.
If there is this higher power, why didn't he make us not perfect, but so that we don't kill others, we don't have mass tragedies that we have in this world? Why didn't he make it better for each individual?
Well, because that will invalidate the entire reason for us being created, which is to test our faith. You see, Allah created us to worship Him for a reason, and that's the reason, to worship Him. To test our faith, we need to live life so that He knows and He sees and we see who's faithful and who's not. You see what I'm saying here? So He can stop us from committing the crimes, but this is not what He created us for. We are not angels. We are human beings. We have the power to choose right and wrong, and because of this power of right and wrong, we commit these crimes. So He doesn't intervene, because He has set a day for intervention that to come later. But He created us, and we said we would like to have the choice to choose between right and wrong. Before we made this choice. In this life, those who deny that they were given the choice, they might say, I wasn't there. They're still doing the choice today. Regardless, they're still doing it. So why doesn't Allah intervene? Because He created us for the purpose of testing us what we would do. If we're all good, we'll be angels. Then we'll be part of that creation. But we're not angels. We're human beings, and we're not the only ones. There is another creation which is called the jinn, Jinn, and the devil, Satan, is a type of jinn. They too have the power to choose, and they commit mischief. So, committing mischief is not something you can or we can say that, why doesn't Allah intervene? He created us so we can do things in this life. Based on that, we receive the punishment or the reward. And this is our choice, what we do in this life. Let me put it in another way. Allah showed me how fragile life is and how wonderful people are. So when I come and kill somebody, I can't blame it on Allah. I can't ask Him why didn't He intervene. I did it. It's me who did it. It's not Him. He allowed it to happen because in His system, In His way, why He created me is to test my faith. Did I fail or succeed? If I failed, I'll pay the punishment or the compensation I will receive if I did good. And therefore, why He allows it? This is the whole purpose behind the creation, that we do things in this life for which we receive either reward or punishment. This is the whole reason behind creation, our existence. This is why we're here, so that we do good things or evil things. Beyond that, I don't know, because like I told you, if He created us and immediately without suffering the pain of this life, put somebody in hellfire and somebody in paradise, okay? But He created this creation specifically to be tested if they're faithful and good and righteous or not. And the pain goes with that. And it's not only the pain of crime. The pain you feel when you don't have food is also horrible. Those who starve to death, they feel horrible pain. Those who have cancer, they feel horrible pain. It's not only what we do, it's the type of life we live. It has both sides, the joy and the pain. But with regards to Muslims, the pain, we have to take it impatiently. Meaning what? I know people commit crimes, I can't react to it more than what I should. And therefore, I either be patient or give it back the same punishment or treatment that I received. But for those who don't have faith, they say, why did this happen to me? They blame Allah. Well, this is the whole reason why you were created here. So you can go through all these experiences and then expect the reward or punishment for what you did. This is the whole reason. I see some people who, when they have tornadoes, and this is the area where tornadoes come, they're, 2 types. Some of them, they're happy. It could have been my house. Like if they're saying it's good, it's his house. It's not mine. And the others, they're crying like they lost their entire life and existence, and then why did this happen to me? Would you like it to have happened to somebody else? You see, this is the destination, this is what happened in life, and pain is a part of our living. You can't take it away and you can't explain it away. Also, if I give you a sufficient answer today, people still are going to commit crimes. You see, I can't change it. What I can change is that you take it in the right way. Meaning what? I understand why I was created. There is joy, there is pain, there is gain, there is loss. I have to be patient because what to expect after that is far more than what I lose in this life. Any other questions?
I have a question about the severe penalties that you were talking about earlier. For theft, it's a loss of a hand, and I've heard some of these rules before about like lashings for fornications, and it seems really harsh to people coming from my background and my culture. And I understand that it deters crime. The really severe punishments often deter crime, and there's lower crime rates and a lot of things that people cite to prove that. But from a theological standpoint, if God created us all and He sustains us all, and He is our final judge, and He's the only one who knows what's in our heart or why we do what we do or what we actually did, why is it our place to judge our fellow men and to exercise such harsh punishments, and even in some cases take their life, which was not given by us but given by God?
This is a good question too. Do you have the patience for me to answer? Okay. I was planning to go to Chicago tomorrow, but it's not going to happen. Because I have to be back by Friday to give a Friday speech here. Maybe here, I'm not sure, maybe in St. Louis. So anyway, in this society, for example, they don't like the lashing, they don't like the stoning of the adulterer and the cutting of the hand. So they put somebody in jail for 10, 15, 20 years. And that's really harsh. That's harsh too. They also put people to death for crimes they commit. The woman who did what she did with the young girl, she now is going to be eligible for the death penalty for what she did. The one who stuffed that girl in the suitcase. So, it's not only in Islam or in our culture that you have harsh punishment. It's existed since the beginning of humanity. That some of us are the judges above others. Why should somebody be the president, for example, when I'm not the president? Why should you order and people obey? Why should I order and people don't care? you know, because this is the way life goes smoothly, that you have a higher authority in this earth to make life go, function smoothly and reasonably peaceful for people. Now, when you have anarchy, then people will start saying, we really need a strong man to come bring things to sanity. Meaning what? Harsh punishment. So harsh punishment is something that can't be defined by me or you. Your culture that you came from, by the way, because somebody was asking me before, why do you stone the adulterer? I said, we took it from you. Go to the Old Testament, you find it there. So don't come to ask me, because in your culture also you have the harsh punishment for theft. What's the punishment for theft in the Old Testament? You know?
An eye for an eye.
No, for theft. Somebody becomes a slave, the one who steals. They become a slave. What's the punishment for adultery in the Old Testament? Stoning. The same thing that continued all the way until the time of Jesus, peace be upon him. And well, this is what we have in our culture. So it has a divine origin. We agree with it completely. Why should one of us judge the other? We're always judging everybody in our own capacity. If you're a teacher, you're judging the students according to their performance by giving them the grades. If you're a judge, really here, you send people to jail, and maybe in jail the horrible things are done to them, and this is to me far harsher than losing a hand. So Allah gives us the chance in this life to have an organized society. And this cannot be done according to the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the books before and the books after, and the Quran, without us judging each other. Otherwise, we can't live in peace. You can't have this building here if everybody's running crazy and exploding it. Sometimes, you know, you go to the street, somebody is killed without any police to keep the peace, without any armies and government, you know, to take care of this. So the organization has to have a part of it that's called punishment. We don't agree with the Western societies with what they did with the punishment that they received, the code of punishment they received from God, from Allah in the Old Testament. They did away with that. They brought up something that doesn't work. You have people here in jail who molested children repeatedly. They spend a little time in jail, then they go out of jail, and then they do it again. They catch him, they do it again. Sometimes they kill. If it is in our society, it's going to be only a one-time, you know, crime, because that receives the death penalty. Doing those things to children, it's eligible for the death penalty. So he's not going to do it again. Losing the hand. Don't tell me that you don't see this as a good punishment for that huge man who went into the ATM machine with a 70 or 80-year-old woman and was taking her money when she took the money out and punching her. You saw all the video. Don't tell me that putting that guy in jail is enough. They couldn't find him until now. Because in my religion, the minimum he receives is that the hand he punched with is going to lose it. And this is good because we have less theft in our society than you do here. Less rape, less violent crimes. I lived in Kuwait, grew up in Kuwait. I'm Palestinian originally. I grew up in Kuwait until I finished high school. I never heard throughout those 18 years that anyone in my neighborhood was, you know, robbed or that somebody broke into their house. Not even one. Once somebody came into our house and he was paying attention. He opened the wrong door. And he was shocked when he went in, found that it's not his house. And, oh, sorry, so he left out. This is the only time I can remember somebody entering a house without permission. So in our society, we can give you the proof that Islamic punishment works. It works nicely. Now, judging each other, let me talk about it from another angle. Which is better? Somebody has the hand cut in this life or having to deal with Allah for that crime? Which is easier? I'm telling you, in this life, it's better for them to be punished. This is why in our Islamic culture, if somebody comes and admits to his fault and gets punished for it, like that person who came and said, I committed adultery. So the Prophet told him, go away. You don't know what you're talking about. He came a second time and said, I committed adultery. I need to be purified. Then the Prophet turned him away for the second time. The third time, he ordered the punishment be done against him. Why? Because that person, first of all, he felt bad for what he did. He wanted to be purified in this life also. It's far less to receive this punishment in this life than the punishment for it on the Day of Judgment. So it's good for us to keep our societies peaceful and organized, to have judges among us above others, to keep the peace. And you see it while you have governments, you have passports, you have jails, you have police officers, you have armies, you have wars, you have all kinds of things, because people want to stop the aggression every way they can, and the shape of it, the form of it, differs from one culture to another. What's shared between us and yours, your culture, is that the book you tell me you believe in, all the Christians who are here, the Old Testament, it says the same punishment for the adulterer as our book does. It's the same thing, it's not different. And being a slave is far more than losing the hand. Jails, we don't use jails as much as you do, because here you have millions of people in jail. And it doesn't work, they can pay for this, and people go to jail and they have a nicer life in there. You pay for those crimes. It's not them. They're having a nice time there, horribly, because they can satisfy even their sexual desire in the way you know, in jail, and having a gym and food and a place to sleep. Who pays for it? You do. Yeah? No, it's not good. In my system, rape, you get at least you get lashed for it in public, so that the humiliation maybe will remind you later on not to do it. But rape actually can be dealt with by execution. You see? So the crimes against females in our religion are harsher. And this is why we have less crime against females in our culture than you do. So I'm asking you to here consider this. God put us on this earth to test our faith and give us the tools to be righteous and good and having peaceful life or not. And we choose to commit crimes, but humanity has decided from the beginning to deal with crimes in a harsh way. And you have all kinds of cultures, harsh punishment for those crimes. It's not only dealt with by Islam. In Singapore, they cane some people who do some kind of offenses there. And it is far more punishment than in Islamic way, because we don't cane. We hit with something that's less painful. So, but these people are not Muslim. How come you don't have this kind of question about Singapore, for example? Yeah? You should ask this question. In fact, I encourage it, because by me explaining it in the way I did, I think you have more insight today about these aspects, hopefully. And in the end, I mean, who are we to judge each other? Then why do we have courts? So if somebody commits a crime and goes to the judge and say, I'm going to wait until God makes his case against me. I don't need your judgment. They will still send him to jail, don't they? He's going to tell him, you're crazy. You're receiving Revelation 1. Go to jail. So punishment is a part of what we are to keep our societies peaceful. And in our culture, it seems harsher, but we don't send anybody for jail for 20 years deprived of their rights, sexual rights, rights to be free among people, because, just let me finish. I'm going to finish with this. There is a saying about that before Islam came, people used to commit raids against each other, violent raids. The tribes were, like every tribe was a separate state with their own armies and committing raids against. There are hundreds of tribes in Arabia, hundreds, fighting each other continuously, committing all kinds of sins you can imagine, and crimes and violent crimes against each other. So a way of life for many of them was to conduct raids against their neighbors. So this is the way they get their money. They attack the neighbor, this neighbor, this tribe, that tribe. So it is said that one Arab chief attacked one of the tribes, and they took women among the capture. So there were three women who, to him they looked nice. So he said to two of his aides, the two trusted ones. He said, how do you think we should divide these women? So the one on his right hand told him, one for you, one for me, one for the other guy. And he gave him a smack that he fell to his back. And he asked the other guy, he said, what do you think how we can divide these women? He said, this is for you in the morning, this is for the evening, this is for the night. He said, where did you learn this wisdom? He said, from the smack that he got. Well, to tell you the truth, many of us are as ridiculous as this, because many humans, they're waiting for the chance to commit aggression, and the only thing that stops them is that they know in Islam, I'm going to lose the hand, I'm not going to steal. If I drink, I'm going to get lashed in public and humiliated. If I rape, I'm going to get killed. If I kill, I'm going to get killed. And therefore, what keeps them from committing these crimes is the smack that the other people got. I think I spoke for too long today. Thank you very much for coming, being patient. Hopefully you can pick up some of these books. If I think we have free literature on the other one, right? The left table, right?
Free stuff on the left.
Yeah, the left table from my side here has free literature.